The papers she couldn't wait to sign. I woke up early because I still believed love could survive one more morning. I made Sophia's favorite breakfast, brewed fresh coffee, and smiled at the empty chair across from me. Maybe today will be different, I whispered. Maybe we'll finally talk. The front door opened. She stepped inside wearing an expensive navy suit and carrying a leather folder. She looked successful, confident, and strangely distant. "You're home," I said. "Breakfast is ready. I already ate. You can still have coffee." "No, Ethan." Her cold voice made my stomach tighten. "Can we sit?" she asked. I nodded and pulled out her chair. She remained standing. "I won't be here long." "What do you mean?" She placed a leather folder on the table and pushed it toward me. "Open it." I slowly reached for it. The first page stole every breath from my chest. Divorce agreement. I looked up at her. This has to be a mistake." "It isn't." "You're serious?" "Yes." I stared at the papers again. "We've been married for 6 years." "I know." "So why?" She folded her arms. "Because I've outgrown this life." I forced myself to stay calm. "What life?" "Our life. Our home. Our future." "My future isn't here anymore." I swallowed hard. "I don't understand." "You do understand, Ethan." "No, I really don't." She sighed. "I've worked hard to become successful." "I know you have." "My company is expanding." "I'm proud of you." "I attend meetings with investors, executives, and people who think bigger." I frowned. "What does that have to do with us?" "It has everything to do with us." She looked directly into my eyes. "You're holding me back." The words hit harder than any slap. "I've never stopped you. You never pushed me forward either. I supported every dream you had. I don't need support anymore." "What do you need?" "A partner who belongs beside me." "I am your partner." "Not anymore." Silence filled the room. I finally asked, "Is this about someone else?" She answered immediately. "No." I believed she was telling the truth. That somehow hurt even more. "So this is only about me?" "It's about who you become." "What have I become?" "Comfortable." "I work every day." "You settle." "I pay our bills." "You think small." "I love you." She looked away. "Love isn't enough." My hand shook. "I thought it was." "It used to be." I laughed softly, but there was no happiness inside it. "So that's it. You deserve someone who wants this life." "I wanted our life." "I don't anymore." I searched her face for hesitation. I found none. "I can change." "I don't want you to." "We could try counseling." "No." "We could take time apart." "No." "We could start over." "No." Each answer felt like another door closing. Finally, I asked the only question that mattered. "Have you already decided?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes." The room became painfully quiet. I looked around the apartment. The photographs. The wedding picture. The bookshelf we built together. The tiny plant she once promised never to forget watering. Every memory suddenly felt borrowed. She slid a pen toward me. "You don't have to make this difficult." I picked it up. She frowned. "You aren't going to argue?" I signed the first page. She blinked. "You aren't going to fight for us?" I signed the second page. "Ethan." I signed the last page and placed the pen beside the papers. "There." She stared at me. "That's all." I stood without answering. "Aren't you angry?" I walked to the bedroom. "Ethan, say something." I opened a wardrobe and packed a few shirts into one suitcase. She followed me. "Why are you leaving?" I zipped the suitcase. "This apartment is yours now. You could stay until everything is final." I picked up my bag. She reached toward me but stopped. I didn't expect this. I finally met her eyes. "You said I'd been holding you back." She remained silent. "I won't do that anymore." I walked past her, opened the front door, and stepped into the hallway. Behind me, she never called my name again. The elevator doors closed. As the building disappeared behind me, I realized my entire future had vanished in less than 10 minutes. Yet somehow my first step away from that apartment already felt lighter than my last step inside. Everything I gave, she forgot. Daniel opened the front door before I could knock twice. Ethan, I know I look terrible. You look like you haven't slept. I haven't. He stepped aside. Come in. I carried my single suitcase inside. The silence felt strange after leaving the apartment that had been my home for 6 years. The guest room is ready, Daniel said. You already knew I'd come? He gave me a tired smile. You're my little brother. I hoped I was wrong. I lowered my head. You weren't. He rested a hand on my shoulder. You don't have to explain tonight. I don't even know where to start. Then don't. A gentle voice came from the kitchen. Tea is ready. Grace walked in holding 3 mugs. She smiled softly. I'm glad you're here, Ethan. I wish it were under better circumstances. So do we? We sat around the dining table. Daniel finally asked, Did she really go through with it? I nodded. I signed the papers. You signed them? I didn't want to beg. Grace looked at me carefully. How do you feel? Empty. Daniel frowned. After everything you did for her. I forced a weak laugh. I guess it wasn't enough. He shook his head. No, it was more than enough. I stared into my tea. I keep asking myself what I did wrong. Grace answered quietly. Sometimes the wrong person makes kindness feel invisible. Her words stayed with me. Daniel leaned forward. Do you remember working double shifts at the warehouse? Every weekend. You were exhausted. I needed the money. Grace asked, That was for Sophia's tuition, wasn't it? Yes. Staying in sight. You never told her no. I couldn't. You paid every semester. I promised I would. And when you wanted to study engineering, I smiled bitterly. I postponed it. For 1 year, forever. The room became quiet. Grace finally spoke. You never regretted helping her? Not then. What about now? I took a slow breath. I regret believing we'd crossed the finish line together. Daniel looked at me. What happened to Dad's watch? I instinctively touched my empty wrist. I sold it. Grace's eyes widened. The watch your father left you? Yes. Daniel whispered. Why? Because Sophia wanted to start her business. You never told me. I knew you'd try to stop me. He rubbed his forehead. That watch meant everything to you. I thought her dream mattered more. Grace asked softly, Did she know what you gave up? I never hid it. What did she say? She cried. And then she hugged me. I smiled sadly. She promised we'd enjoy success together. Daniel clenched his jaw. And when success came, I wasn't part of the picture anymore. Grace reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Ethan, loving someone should never require destroying yourself. I looked at her. I thought sacrifice proved love. It proves love, she replied gently. But love should also protect you. Daniel nodded. You kept giving. I know. And she kept taking. I know. You deserve better. I don't even know what better looks like. Grace smiled. Peace. I didn't answer. That night, I lay awake in the guest room, staring at the ceiling. Every memory returned. Sophia laughing over cheap takeaway food. Sophia crying after failing an exam. Sophia promising, when I succeed, we'll celebrate together. I whispered into the darkness. What changed? No answer came. The next morning, my phone vibrated. A social media notification appeared. Sophia had posted a photograph. She stood beside a sharply dressed man in an expensive restaurant. Both of them were smiling. The caption read, A new chapter begins. I recognized him from the company website. Marcus Reed, her business partner. I stared at the screen until it went dark. Daniel walked into the room. You okay? I locked the phone. I will be. You believe that? I have to. He nodded once. Then start here. How? Sleep? And tomorrow? We take one step. What if one step is enough? It doesn't have to be. Grace appeared in the doorway. One honest step every day becomes a different life. I looked from Daniel to Grace. For the first time since signing the divorce papers, I realized I wasn't completely alone. I still couldn't see the future waiting for me. Neither could Sophia. Neither of us understood that the choices we had already made were quietly carrying us toward two completely different destinies. The man I used to be. 3 months passed before I finally stopped checking my phone every morning. Daniel noticed first. You didn't look at your messages. I know. Progress. I think so. He smiled. Good. Now, let's work on the next step. What next step? Finding the job you actually deserve. I already have one. You have a job that pays bills. That matters. It does. He leaned against the kitchen counter. But you're capable of much more. I don't know anymore. You used to. I used to believe a lot of things. Grace placed breakfast on the table. Listen to him. I'm tired of starting over. She smiled gently. Starting over isn't failure. It feels like it. It won't forever. Daniel handed me a folder. What's this? Job openings. I flipped through the pages. Management. Yes. Business development. Yes. Strategy analyst. Also yes. I laughed. They'll never hire me. Did you even read the requirements? I paused. They match my experience. They match your talent. I looked at him. You really believe that? I've always believed it. That afternoon, I updated my resume. Every achievement reminded me how often I had chosen someone else's dream before my own. I pressed send on 5 applications. Then I waited. A week later, the rain arrived without warning. I ran through crowded streets until I spotted a small cafe. A bell rang as I stepped inside. Welcome. I looked toward the counter. A young woman smiled warmly. You look completely soaked. I definitely am. She laughed. Sit anywhere. Thanks. I'll bring you a towel. You don't have to. I know. She returned a moment later. Here. Thank you. I'm Lily. Ethan. Nice to meet you. The pleasure is mine. She pointed at the menu. Coffee, please. Something sweet too? I'm trying to save money. She smiled. Then today's cookie is free. I can't accept that. You already did. I laughed for the first time in weeks. She placed the coffee beside me. So, bad weather or bad day? Both. Want to talk about it? Not really. That's okay. She wiped another table. You can simply enjoy the coffee. You're not curious? People speak when they're ready. I stared into my cup. That's different. Different good. Very. The rain continued for another hour. Before leaving, I asked, do you always treat strangers as kindly? No. What made me special? You smile with your mouth. I frowned, but not with my eyes. Her answer surprised me. I hope they catch up someday. I visited again the following Saturday. She greeted me with another smile. Back already? I liked the coffee. Liar. I laughed. Was it that obvious? A little. Our conversations became part of my weekly routine. She never asked painful questions. She never judged my past. She simply listened whenever I chose to speak. One afternoon, my phone rang while I sat inside the cafe. Hello, Mr. Walker? Speaking. This is Collins Group. My heart raced. I'm calling about your interview. I remember. Mr. Henry Collins would like another meeting. When? Tomorrow morning. I'll be there. Lily noticed my expression. Good news? I think so. Then celebrate. I don't want to celebrate too early. She smiled. Hope isn't dangerous. The next morning, I sat across from Henry Collins. He'd picked up a document. Did you write this proposal yourself? Yes. You solved 3 problems my senior managers missed. I simply looked carefully. He nodded. I like honest answers. I stayed silent. He leaned forward. Why are you applying below your ability? I lost confidence. You didn't lose ability. His words landed deeply. We need someone who sees opportunities before everyone else. I can do that. I believe you can. He extended his hand. Welcome to Collins Group, Ethan. I shook it carefully. Thank you. No. He smiled. Thank you for reminding me that talent sometimes hides behind disappointment. When I left the building, I didn't call Sophia. I didn't wonder what she would think. Instead, I walked toward Lily's cafe. She looked up as I entered. You got the job. How did you know? You're smiling with your eyes now. For the first time in years, I believe I could become someone because of myself, not because someone else chose to stay beside me. The perfect life begins to crack. My first month at Collins Group ended with a surprise. Henry called me into his office. Come in, then. You wanted to see me? I did. I sat across from him. He slid a report toward me. Recognize this? My market analysis. Yes. Did I make a mistake? He smiled. No. I frowned. Then why am I here? Because you solve a problem that costs us clients for nearly a year. I only suggested a different strategy. Exactly. He folded his hands. Simple ideas are usually the hardest to find. I let out a slow breath. I appreciate the opportunity. You earned it. He handed me another document. What is this? A promotion. I blinked. Already? You've earned that too. I've only been here a month. You've made every department better. I stood. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Call me Henry. I'll try. He laughed. You'll get used to success. Those words stayed with me all afternoon. After work, I walked to Lily's cafe. She looked up from the counter. You're smiling again. I have a reason. Oh, I got promoted. She clapped happily. I knew it. You knew? I could tell after our first conversation. I couldn't. That's because pain lies. I laughed. It really does. She grabbed her bag. Come on. Where? We're celebrating. I didn't plan anything. I did. An hour later, Daniel and Grace joined us for dinner. Daniel raised his glass. To my stubborn little brother. Grace smiled. To new beginnings. Lily lifted hers. To believing in yourself. I looked around the table. For a long time, I thought I'd never feel this peaceful again. Daniel nodded. You deserve it. I almost forgot what happiness felt like. Grace reached over and squeezed my arm. Don't apologize for healing. I guess I'm still learning. Lily grinned. Then we'll keep teaching you. We laughed together. The sound felt natural. It felt real. That night, I walked home smiling without forcing it. For the first time in years, silence no longer felt lonely. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was Olivia. I recognized the name immediately. She had been Sophia's closest friend since university. I hesitated before answering. Hello, Ethan? Yes, it's Olivia. I know. I wasn't sure you'd answer. I almost didn't. I understand. Neither of us spoke for a moment. Finally, she asked, How are you? I'm doing better. I'm glad. Why did you call? I wanted to apologize. For what? For staying silent. You didn't owe me anything. I watched things change. What things? The way Sophia started listening only to Marcus. I frowned. What do you mean? He makes every decision now. They're business partners. I know. But he also presents her ideas as his own. I stayed quiet. I tried warning her. And she thinks I'm jealous. I sighed. That's her choice. I know. I don't want to be involved. I understand. Before ending the call, she whispered, I just thought you deserved the truth. Thank you. Later that week, I unexpectedly crossed paths with Sophia outside a conference center. She looked elegant as always. Marcus stood beside her. A tall, older man approached them. Marcus immediately smiled. Mr. Hayes. The older man barely acknowledged Sophia. I'm Arthur Hayes. His voice sounded sharp. I don't pay people for excuses. Marcus answered quickly. We'll meet every target. You'd better. Arthur looked directly at Sophia. I invested because I expect results. We're doing everything possible. I expect impossible. He walked away without another word. Sophia forced a smile. Marcus leaned closer. I'll handle him. She nodded quietly. For the first time since our divorce. She didn't look confident. She looked tired. I watched from across the street. For a brief second, our eyes met. She looked surprised. I simply nodded once before turning away. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel satisfaction. I only felt distance. That evening, Lily asked, "Did seeing her ruin your day?" I thought carefully before answering. "No." "What did you feel?" "Like I was looking at someone I used to know." She smiled softly. "That's a good sign." "Is it?" "It means your heart is finally walking in the same direction as your feet." I looked to the cafe window as rain gently covered the streets. Somewhere beyond those lights, Sophia was chasing a future that suddenly seemed heavier than before. Meanwhile, I sat with people who cared whether I smiled. The difference between those two worlds had never been clearer. Neither of us realized it yet, but the cracks in her perfect life had already begun spreading, while the broken pieces of mine were quietly becoming something stronger than I had ever imagined possible. The truth hidden behind success. A week passed before Olivia called again. "Ethan, can we meet?" "Why?" "It's important." "I don't want trouble." "Neither do I." After a long silence, I answered, "Fine." 1 hour. We met in a quiet cafe across town. She looked exhausted. "Thank you for coming." "I almost didn't." "I know." She placed a folder on the table. "I found something." "I don't need to know what Sophia is doing. This isn't about gossip." "What is it about?" "Marcus." I frowned. "What about him?" "He isn't the man everyone believes." I stayed silent. She opened the folder. "These are financial records." "I don't understand them." "You don't have to." She pointed at several pages. "Money has been moved through fake companies. And those companies don't exist." I looked at her. "Are you certain?" I checked everything twice. "Does Sophia know?" "No." "Why tell me?" She lowered her eyes. "Because I owe you the truth." "You don't owe me anything." "I do." I waited. She took a deep breath. "I always knew Sophia wasn't fair to you." I looked away. "You watched everything." "Yes." "You said nothing." "I thought loyalty meant standing beside my best friend. And now, I've realized loyalty without honesty only creates bigger mistakes." I closed the folder. "What do you want me to do? Help expose Marcus?" I shook my head. "No." She blinked. "No. My life is finally moving forward. But he helped destroy your marriage." "I know. Don't you want revenge?" I smiled faintly. "I wanted peace. And now, I've found it." She studied my face. "You've changed." "I had to. If Marcus falls, he'll fall because of his own choices." "You really believe that?" "I do." She slowly nodded. "I wish I had your strength." "I'm not strong." "Then what are you?" "Tired of carrying old pain." She smiled sadly. "I understand." As I stood to leave, her phone rang. She answered immediately. "Hello." Her expression changed. "What?" She listened quietly. "Where are you?" Another pause. "I'll come." She ended the call. "Who was that?" "Emma." "Emma who?" "Marcus's younger sister." I stopped walking. I didn't know he had a sister. Most people don't. "What happened?" She found something. "What?" "Evidence." "Of what?" "Fraud." 2 days later, Olivia called again. "Ethan." "I'm listening." Emma agreed to meet me. And she brought documents. "What kind?" "Contracts." I remained silent. "They prove Marcus stole business proposals." "From whom?" "Several smaller companies." She continued. "He changed names, signatures, and dates." I frowned. "That's impossible." "I thought so too." "What else?" "There are fake investment reports. And they were used to convince wealthy investors to provide money." My stomach tightened. "Does Sophia know any of this?" "Not yet." "Will you tell her?" "I have to." "Be careful." "I will." Another week passed. I focused completely on work. Henry trusted me with larger projects. Lily continued reminding me to enjoy small victories. One evening, she placed a cup of coffee in front of me. "You've been thinking." "I have." "About Sophia?" A little. Do you miss her? I considered the question carefully. I miss who I believed she was. That's different. It is. My phone buzzed again. It was Olivia. Ethan, what's happened? I told Sophia everything. How did she react? She refused to believe me. And now, Emma showed her the original files. I closed my eyes. What happened then? She confronted Marcus. Did he deny it? At first. And after that? He admitted using her reputation. I felt strangely calm. What else? He said investors trusted her face. I didn't answer. Olivia's voice became quieter. He told her she was useful. I slowly sat down. Useful? He said talent was easier to replace than reputation. My chest tightened despite everything. And love? Olivia hesitated. He laughed. The silence between us felt painfully heavy. Finally, she whispered, Sophia knows now. Knows what? That he never loved her. I looked through the cafe window. Rain tapped softly against the glass. Lily noticed my expression. Bad news? Sad news. For you? I shook my head. No. For someone who made a terrible mistake. She gently covered my hand with hers. You can't save everyone. I know. Especially people who refuse to be saved. I nodded slowly. For the first time since my divorce, I truly understood something. Walking away had never been the end of my story. It had only been the beginning of a better one. While the beautiful life Sophia had chosen was quietly collapsing beneath the weight of lies she had mistaken for success. When karma doesn't knock, it breaks the door. Monday morning started like any other. I walked into my office, carrying a cup of coffee. Henry looked up from his desk. Morning, Ethan. Morning. You've seen the news? I shook my head. I've been avoiding it. He handed me a business newspaper. The headline covered the entire front page. Investors file lawsuit against Reed Capital. I quietly read every word. Marcus's company was under investigation for fraud, forged financial reports, and stolen investment funds. Henry watched my expression. You know these people. I used to. I'm sorry. You don't have to be. He nodded. Go back to work. I will. I folded the newspaper and left his office. For the rest of the morning, everyone discussed the scandal. I stayed silent. Around lunchtime, my phone rang. Olivia. Hello. Ethan. You sound exhausted. I haven't slept. What happened? Everything. I found an empty meeting room. Tell me. Arthur discovered every fake report. And he canceled every investment. I closed my eyes. That quickly. He didn't even wait for an explanation. What about Marcus? He tried blaming everyone else. Did anyone believe him? No. She sighed heavily. The investors are panicking. What about Sophia? She's still in the office. How is she? Broken. I didn't answer. Olivia continued. Arthur walked into the conference room this morning. What did he say? He threw the contracts onto the table. I listened quietly. He looked at Marcus and said, You lied to me. And Marcus, he tried smiling. That never works. No. She almost laughed. Arthur wasn't finished. What happened next? He looked at Sophia. My chest tightened. What did he tell her? I invested because I trusted your reputation. That trust is gone. I slowly sat down. Then he walked away. No second chance? None. The line became silent. Finally, I asked, Is the company finished? Yes. That fast. Clients canceled contracts. Investors? Gone. Employees? Leaving. I let out a slow breath. It really is over. It happened overnight. After work, I stopped by Lily's cafe. She smiled as I entered. You look thoughtful. I've had a strange day. She poured coffee into my favorite mug. Tell me. I sat near the window. Marcus lost everything. She nodded quietly. I heard. So, did everyone. What about Sophia? She lost almost everything, too. Lily sat across from me. How do you feel? I thought carefully before answering. I expected to feel satisfied. And I don't. Why? Because watching someone drown doesn't erase the years I spent drowning myself. She smiled gently. I was hoping you'd say that. I don't hate her anymore. What do you feel? Relief. Only relief? I no longer belong in that world. She reached across the table. That's worth more than revenge. Before I could answer, my phone rang again. It was Olivia. Ethan, I'm here. You should know one more thing. What happened? Marcus tried leaving the country. I frowned. Did he escape? No. The police stopped him. I leaned back in my chair. And Sophia? She confronted him before he left. What did he say? He blamed her. For what? For exposing him. I laughed without humor. Unbelievable. He told her everything would have been fine if she'd stayed quiet. I looked outside. Rain covered the streets again. What did Sophia do? Nothing. Nothing. She finally realized arguing with him wouldn't change anything. I thanked Olivia and ended the call. Lily watched me carefully. More bad news? No. Then what? The final chapter of someone else's choices. She nodded. You know what real revenge is? I smiled faintly. I think so. She shook her head. No. What is it? She looked directly into my eyes. It's becoming someone your old pain can no longer control. Her words stayed with me long after the cafe closed. Months earlier, I would have celebrated Marcus's downfall. I would have waited for Sophia to regret leaving me. Instead, I walked home feeling strangely peaceful. The company that once looked untouchable had collapsed. The expensive offices were empty. The luxury cars meant nothing. The friends who surrounded success had disappeared with it. Money had attracted them. Failure had frightened them away. As for me, I unlocked the door to my small apartment, smiled quietly, and realized something priceless. I finally had a life that no longer depended on anyone else's approval. For the first time in years, I slept without dreaming about the past. The woman who came back too late. Rain tapped softly against my apartment window as I finished reading a report from work. A knock interrupted the silence. I frowned. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, I froze. Sophia stood in the hallway. Her hair was wet from the rain. Her eyes were red. She looked nothing like the confident woman who had walked away months earlier. Hi, Ethan. I couldn't answer immediately. She slowly raised her hand. I think this belongs to you. She placed an old house key in my palm. I should have returned it sooner. I looked at the small piece of metal. So should you. I'm sorry. The words sounded fragile. I stepped aside. You can come in for a few minutes. Thank you. She entered quietly. My apartment was small. Simple furniture. A bookshelf. A framed picture from a hiking trip with Daniel and Grace. She looked around. You've made a nice home. I have. She lowered her eyes. I almost didn't recognize you. I've changed. I can see that. Neither of us spoke for a moment. Finally, she whispered, I've rehearsed this conversation 100 times. And I still don't know where to begin. Start with the truth. She nodded. I confused success with happiness. I remained silent. I thought money would solve everything. I waited. I thought powerful people would make me feel important. She laughed bitterly. They didn't. No, they disappeared the moment everything collapsed. I looked at her. That must have hurt. It did. She wiped away a tear. But losing the company wasn't the worst part. What was? Realizing I threw away the only person who loved me before I became successful. Her voice broke. I kept remembering every sacrifice you made. I didn't interrupt. You worked overtime so I could finish university. I quietly nodded. You sold your father's watch. Yes. I begged you not to. You accepted it anyway. She closed her eyes. I told myself we'd enjoy success together. You did. And then I left you behind. The room became painfully quiet. She finally looked at me again. I don't expect forgiveness. I stayed calm, but I needed you to know that I finally understand. I took a slow breath. It took losing everything. Yes, it shouldn't have. I know. She reached into her bag. I found these. She handed me several old photographs. Our wedding, our first apartment, a birthday celebration with cheap cake and paper decorations. I couldn't throw them away. I smiled faintly. Neither could I. She looked hopeful. Really, they're memories. Good memories? Mostly. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I've missed you every day. I gently placed the photographs on the table. I believe you. You do. Yes. She stepped closer. Ethan. Can we try again? I didn't answer. She continued. I'll do anything. I looked into her eyes. I know. I was selfish. You were. I was proud. You were. I was blind. You were. She swallowed hard. But I've changed. I'm glad. She stared at me. That's all. What else should I say? I thought. You thought I'd run back to you? Her shoulders dropped. I hoped. I nodded slowly. There was a time when hearing those words would have meant everything. Her eyes filled with tears again. I know. I dreamed about hearing you say you wanted me back. I do want you back. I smiled sadly. That's the problem. She looked confused. The man you want back doesn't exist anymore. She whispered, What do you mean? I spent months rebuilding myself. I know. I learned to respect myself. You deserve that. I learned peace. I'm happy for you. And I learned something else. What? Love shouldn't require me to disappear. She covered her mouth as tears fell freely. I'm so sorry. I know you are. Please. I gently shook my head. I forgive you. Hope returned to her face. But forgiveness isn't the same as starting over. Her smile disappeared. I can't go back. Why? Because every step forward cost me too much. She lowered her head. I was too late. Yes. If I'd come sooner? I looked at the rain outside. I honestly don't know. She nodded. I understand. We walked to the front door together. She paused before leaving. I truly loved you, Ethan. I smiled gently. I know. You do. I never doubted that. Then why can't we fix this? Because love without respect eventually becomes pain. She closed her eyes. I wish I had understood that sooner. So do I? She stepped into the hallway. Before the elevator doors opened, she turned around one last time. I hope you're happy. I answered honestly. I finally am. She gave me a small, broken smile before disappearing behind the closing doors. I locked my apartment, leaned against the wall, and quietly thanked a version of myself who had survived long enough to understand that some doors should remain closed, even after the person who walked away finally finds the courage to knock. Learning to choose myself. The morning after Sophia left my apartment, I woke up feeling strangely calm. There were no tears, no regrets, only quiet. I made coffee, opened my window, and watched the sunrise. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone else's approval before enjoying a new day. My phone buzzed. It was Daniel. Morning. Morning. How are you? I slept well. He laughed. That's the best news I've heard all week. I think something finally changed. I know it did. How? You sound lighter. I feel lighter. Come over for dinner tonight. I'll be there. Before hanging up, he said, I'm proud of you. Those words stayed with me throughout the day. At work, Henry called me into the conference room. Ethan, you wanted to see me? I have a challenge for you. I'm listening. He placed several files on the table. Our biggest client is considering leaving. What happened? They've lost confidence in the current project. What do you need from me? I want you to lead it. I looked at him in surprise. Me? You. There are managers with more experience. There are. Then why me? Because people trust you. I remain silent. You solve problems without chasing credit. I just do my job. Henry smiled. Exactly. I accepted the files. I won't let you down. I know. The following weeks became my busiest yet. Every meeting tested my patience. Every decision carried responsibility. Instead of feeling afraid, I felt prepared. One afternoon, Henry stopped beside my desk. "Good work. We're making progress. We're doing more than that." He smiled proudly. "You've brought the entire team together. I couldn't have done it alone. A real leader never does." His words meant more than another promotion ever could. That evening, I visited Lily's cafe. She handed me my usual coffee before I even ordered. "You look tired." "I am." "Bad day?" "Busy day." "That's different." "It is." She sat across from me. "Tell me everything." I smiled. Henry trusted me with a major project. I knew he would. "How?" "Because he sees what everyone else sees now." "And what's that?" "You're finally seeing yourself clearly." I laughed. "You always know what to say." "No, I only remind people what they already know." We spent hours talking about work, books, and ordinary life. Nothing felt forced. Nothing felt complicated. She never tried to become someone else. She never asked me to become someone different. She simply accepted me. A few days later, Daniel invited me to another family dinner. Grace welcomed me with a hug. "You've been working too hard." "I know." Daniel watched me carefully during dinner. "What?" He smiled. "Nothing. You're staring." "I am." "Why?" "Because I haven't seen that smile in years." I touched my face. "My smile." He nodded. "It's different." "How?" Grace answered before he could. "Your eyes finally match it." I laughed softly. Lily said the same thing. Daniel grinned. "Smart woman." After dinner, we stood outside beneath a clear evening sky. Daniel folded his arms. "Do you remember the night you arrived with one suitcase?" "I do." "I was worried." "So was I." "You looked like someone who had lost everything." "I thought I had." "And now?" I looked around. "My life isn't perfect. It never will be." "I know, but it's mine." Daniel smiled proudly. "That's the answer I hoped for." Driving home, I thought about everything that had changed. No single conversation had healed me. No promotion had erased the past. No apology had repaired every wound. Instead, healing had arrived quietly. One kind conversation, one honest friend, one difficult decision, one peaceful morning, one hopeful tomorrow. Each small step had carried me farther away from the man who believed his worth depended on someone else's love. When I reached home, I looked at my reflection in the hallway mirror. For years, I had searched for the man I used to be. Now I understood something even better. I wasn't becoming that man again. I was becoming someone stronger, someone wiser, someone who had finally learned that choosing myself wasn't selfish. It was the reason I had survived long enough to build a life that truly felt like my own. Some regrets never leave. Several weeks passed after Sophia visited my apartment. Life settled into a peaceful rhythm. Work kept me busy. Lily kept me smiling. Daniel and Grace never stopped reminding me that healing was something worth protecting. One Friday afternoon, Olivia called. "Hi, Ethan." "Hi. Am I interrupting?" "No. I want to tell you something." "What is it?" "It's about Sophia." I stayed quiet. "She's trying to rebuild her life." "I'm glad." "Really? I don't want her to suffer forever." Olivia sounded relieved. "I hoped you'd say that." "How is she doing?" "She's working at a small consulting firm." "That's good." "The salary is nothing compared to before." "Money isn't everything." "She finally understands that." I looked out my office window. "What else?" "She sold the apartment." I closed my eyes. "Our apartment?" "Yes." "I see." "She couldn't bear staying there." "I understand." Olivia continued softly. "She visited your old neighborhood last week." "Why?" "She said every street reminded her of you." I smiled sadly. Memories have a way of doing that. "They do." After ending the call, I thought about the past for only a few minutes before returning to work. That alone showed me how much I had changed. The following Sunday, Lily invited me for a walk through the city park. She noticed I seemed thoughtful. You're quiet. I've been thinking. About Sophia? A little. Do you still love her? I answered honestly. I'll always care about the woman I married. And the woman she became? I've already said goodbye to her. Lily nodded. I think that's healthy. I hope so. She smiled warmly. I'm sure of it. A month later, Henry approached my desk. Ethan. Yes. Our company is sponsoring a charity gala. I heard. I'd like you to represent us. I'd be honored. Good. He handed me an invitation. I'll see you there. The ballroom was filled with business leaders, volunteers, and local families. I spent most of the evening speaking with clients. Just as I finished one conversation, I turned around and froze. Sophia stood only a few steps away. She wore a simple blue dress. There were no expensive jewels, no crowd surrounding her. Only Olivia standing quietly beside her. She noticed me first. Ethan. Good evening. For a moment, none of us spoke. Then Sophia smiled gently. You look well. So do you. She laughed softly. You're being kind. I'm being honest. She glanced around the room. I almost didn't come tonight. Why? I wasn't sure I belonged here anymore. I looked at her. You don't need status to belong somewhere. She nodded slowly. I've finally learned that. Olivia gently touched her shoulder. I'll give you 2 minutes. She walked away. Sophia looked back at me. I heard you're leading major projects now. I've been fortunate. You earned it. Thank you. She smiled. I mean that. I know. She looked down at her hands. I visit places we used to go. I stayed silent. The little bakery. I smiled. You always ordered chocolate cake. And you always stole my coffee. I laughed. I did. She looked at me with quiet sadness. I spent years chasing success. You did. When I finally had it, I had nobody to celebrate with. I didn't know what to say. She continued. I understand now. What do you understand? Success feels empty when you have no one waiting for you at home. I nodded gently. It took me losing everything to learn that. The music changed. People gathered near the stage. She looked toward the crowd before turning back to me. I'm not asking for another chance. I know. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to become someone better. I believe you. Her eyes filled with quiet gratitude. Thank you. Olivia returned. We should go. Sophia nodded. Before leaving, she looked at me one last time. I hope life gives you every happiness I couldn't. I smiled sincerely. I hope you find peace too. She returned the smile. It wasn't filled with hope. It wasn't filled with regret alone. It was acceptance. I watched her walk away beside Olivia without feeling the urge to follow. Some stories end because love disappears. Ours ended because respect disappeared first. As I stood inside the crowded ballroom, I realized we had both finally accepted the same truth. Our marriage would always be part of our lives, but it no longer defined either of our futures. I quietly wished her well, then turned toward Lily, who was waiting for me with a warm smile, ready to walk beside me into the life I had chosen instead of the one I had lost. The signature that saved my life. The alarm rang before sunrise. I smiled as I turned it off. Today felt different, not because something extraordinary was waiting for me, because I finally understood how far I had come. My phone buzzed. It was Lily. Are you awake? I've been awake for 10 minutes. Meet me at the hill? I'll be there. I'll bring coffee. I'll bring breakfast. Deal. Half an hour later, I reached the hill overlooking the city. The streets below were still quiet. The sky slowly turned from dark blue to soft gold. Lily walked toward me carrying 2 cups. I won. I laughed. What do you mean? I brought coffee and breakfast. So I lost. You did. She handed me a cup. Good morning. Good morning. We stood together without speaking. The silence felt peaceful instead of awkward. After a few minutes, she asked, What are you thinking about? The divorce papers. She looked at me. Really, I haven't thought about them for a long time. What changed today? I realized something. What? I always believed signing those papers meant I had lost. And now, I think it saved my life. She smiled gently. I agree. I looked toward the rising sun. When Sophia placed those papers on the table, I thought my future had disappeared. But it didn't. No, it was waiting. I just couldn't see it. Lily nodded. Sometimes endings hide better beginnings. I've learned that. She sipped her coffee. Do you regret anything? I thought carefully. I regret forgetting my own worth. Anything else? I regret believing I had to earn love by sacrificing myself. She looked at me. You don't believe that anymore. No. What changed your mind? You. She looked surprised. Me? You never asked me to become someone else. I liked who you already were. I know. You deserve that. I smiled. It took me a long time to believe it. She gently touched my hand. You believe it now. I do. We watched the sun climb higher. After a while, she asked another question. If Sophia had never left, would you have become this person? I answered honestly. I don't think so. So even pain gave you something. It gave me myself. She smiled proudly. I like this version of you. So do I. My phone vibrated. A message appeared from an unknown number. I opened it. It was Sophia. I heard about your latest promotion. Congratulations. I truly hope you're happy. Thank you for everything you once gave me. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to become someone worthy of those memories. Goodbye, Ethan. Asterisk, asterisk. I quietly locked the screen. Lily looked at me. Everything okay? Yes. You don't look upset. I'm not. You aren't going to reply? I shook my head. No. Why? Because some conversations don't need another ending. She nodded. I understand. I slipped the phone into my pocket. For the first time, I didn't feel sadness. I didn't feel anger. I simply wished Sophia peace. Nothing more. Nothing less. Lily smiled. Ready to go? I looked around one last time. The city was waking up. Cars filled the streets. People hurried toward another ordinary day. I remembered standing alone outside my old apartment with one suitcase. I remembered believing my life was over. I remembered the silence after signing my name. Back then, I thought that signature ended my story. I couldn't have been more wrong. That signature ended a life where I measure my value through someone else's approval. It ended the version of me who believed love meant losing myself. It ended years of fear, doubt, and quiet loneliness. I looked at Lily. Thank you. For what? For walking beside me instead of trying to carry me. She smiled. We walked together. Together? I took one final look at the sunrise. My greatest victory wasn't a promotion. It wasn't Marcus's downfall. It wasn't seeing Sophia regret her choices. My greatest victory was becoming a man who finally respected himself. As Lily and I walked down the hill toward the future, waiting for us, I silently thanked the man who had signed those divorce papers without saying a single word. He believed he was losing everything. He never realized he was saving the only person he could never afford to lose. He was saving me